In the heart of every compelling story lies a character whose journey resonates with our own struggles and triumphs. Parker's narrative is a vivid exploration of the human experience, marked by a series of profound disappointments, fleeting hopes, and unexpected twists of fate. As we delve into his life, we become witnesses to his complex emotional journey, one that challenges us to reflect on our capacity for resilience. Through Parker's trials, we are reminded of the universal truths about endurance and the transformative power of hope in navigating life's unpredictable landscape. His experiences invite us to ponder how we, too, confront adversity and emerge stronger on the other side. This is a story about Parker, whose world has been turned upside down after his breakup with his wife, Bonnie. As he navigates the turbulent waters of divorce and the complexities of parenting, he finds himself caught in a mix of relief and anxiety. With the prospect of new friendships and the possibility of love on the horizon, Parker begins to realize that his journey isn't just about moving on, it's also about healing and embracing a fresh start. Have you ever been accused of a serious crime you didn't commit? If you haven't, consider yourself fortunate, because I found myself in that exact situation. I've always tried to steer clear of trouble, maintaining a calm and unobtrusive demeanor. Yet, for reasons beyond my control, problems seemed to pile up around me, leaving me in a position where I had to clean up a colossal mess. I'm Parker, and my relationship with Bonnie has spanned 5 tumultuous years. Our paths crossed just before Christmas during my senior year of high school. Back then, my only goal was to meet as many girls as possible, and Bonnie became the ultimate challenge, one I just couldn't seem to conquer. Reflecting on those days now, I often wish I had simply accepted defeat. Instead, I stubbornly pursued her throughout my senior year. Graduation marked the beginning of my downfall. My eagerness to get my career started was overshadowed when, after a night out together, we discovered Bonnie was pregnant. Just 2 months later, we found ourselves contemplating honeymoon options suitable for expectant mothers. My college plans? Postponed indefinitely. Despite the challenges, I've always had a passion for computer programming. I immersed myself in college-level courses during my final years of high school, becoming quite adept in SQL and mastering the art of crafting complex queries, views, functions, and stored procedures. The beauty of programming lies in its flexibility. I could work from virtually anywhere with Wi-Fi, which meant I could stay home. However, my current situation was anything but simple. An altercation at a nightclub had landed me under house arrest for 10 months, marking the first time I'd been in a physical fight since grade school. It was more of an ambush than a fair brawl, and fortunately, I managed to dodge felony charges. After Bonnie gave birth to our son Adam, we enjoyed a peaceful 6 months. I had a decent programming job, working alongside a small team of fellow coders. Despite our young age of 20, Bonnie and I navigated adulthood together, embracing the responsibilities of parenthood. Bonnie assured me she was on birth control, yet we found ourselves back in the doctor's office, staring at a sonogram revealing 3 tiny sets of hands and feet. Our family grew with the arrival of our daughters, Connie and Danny. Now I seriously considered sterilization, as managing a stubborn toddler in his terrible 2s while juggling 2 crying infants was overwhelming. One Saturday night, we decided to let Bonnie's parents babysit while we enjoyed dinner at a popular restaurant. We ended up at a nearby nightclub with a live band, our first outing since turning 21. The venue was packed, making conversation and dancing a challenge, so we opted for another club that had a jukebox and a dance floor. The atmosphere was lively, with around 40 people dancing and enjoying themselves. After a few dances and some drinks, we settled at a table near 3 other couples. The men chatted about sports while the women engaged in their own conversation. Soon, other men approached our table, inviting the ladies to dance. 2 of the women agreed while the others declined. I watched as Bonnie joined one of the men on the dance floor. After several lively songs, she returned, but a different man soon asked her to dance. She glanced at me for approval, and I nodded, trusting her. They danced to a mix of fast and slow songs, and everything seemed harmless. I excused myself to visit the restroom, but when I returned, Bonnie was nowhere to be found. A sense of unease washed over me as I searched the club for her. Stepping outside, I was horrified to find her with a man, his right hand positioned between her legs, while she reciprocated with her arms around his neck. His left hand wandered under her blouse, and their faces were uncomfortably close. Without thinking, I intervened. I delivered a forceful kick to the side of his leg, causing him to cry out in pain. I then shoved his blonde hair against the concrete wall, bringing him to the ground. A few more kicks ensured he wouldn't cause any more trouble. My final strike likely had serious consequences for him. Just then, security arrived, and I turned to Bonnie, demanding to know what she was doing. Her response was a jumbled mess, leaving me baffled about how she managed to get home that night. As the night wore on, I couldn't help but wonder if alcohol had played a role in her reckless behavior. Our group found itself confined to a holding cell, and it was only after my parents posted bail that I was brought home. Bonnie continuously apologized, but my mind was racing, torn between disbelief and anger. Navigating this chaotic landscape of love, betrayal, and the quest for a fresh start would be a long journey for both of us. I just hoped that in the end, we could find our way back to some semblance of peace amidst the chaos. The air was thick with tension, and I confronted Bonnie with a heavy heart. "Apologies don't explain the motives behind your actions," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "When you're ready to share what's really going on, I'll be all ears. But until then, please just don't speak." Despite my plea, the silence hung between us like an uninvited guest. No explanation ever came, leaving me to grapple with the shadows of doubt that clouded our marriage. As our intimacy waned under the strain, Bonnie took it upon herself to keep the peace in our home, even as financial constraints forced us to settle for a novice lawyer for our divorce. I doubted that hiring a top-tier attorney would have changed much. After all, I was sentenced to 11 months of house arrest, confined to my home except for medical emergencies or transport in an ambulance or police car. The constant presence of my confinement began to weigh heavily on Bonnie, leading her to seek solace in casual coffee chats with the neighbors. I found my own comfort in the company of family. Thankfully, my boss understood my situation and allowed me to join online meetings, keeping me in the loop with ongoing projects. Just as I thought things couldn't get worse, the next blow to our already fractured marriage arrived less than a month into my confinement. "Parker, I'll be direct," Bonnie said one evening, her voice cutting through the stillness. "I can't bear sitting here every night while you're stuck in this house." Since that incident where I was groped, I've been rethinking everything. I met someone at the supermarket and I'm going out on a date with him Friday night. I had planned to respond with calm reasoning, but my emotions spiraled out of control. Fear gripped Bonnie, prompting her to retreat to our bedroom and lock the door. In that moment of desperation, I knew I had to take a stand. I called both sets of parents, mine and Bonnie's, to confront this spiraling situation. Roger and Edith, Bonnie's parents, arrived first, along with my own, Julie and Mark. The two mothers shared nurturing instincts, though their styles differed. My mother sometimes opted for pants, while Edith preferred long dresses that hid her figure. My father and Roger bore a striking resemblance, both sporting fashionable beards and receding hairlines. I recounted Bonnie's grievances, hoping for clarity. Despite Edith's attempts to coax Bonnie out of the bedroom, the evening deteriorated rapidly. In a fit of anger, Bonnie issued a chilling ultimatum. "If you ever want to see your grandchildren again, you need to stay out of my personal life." The sympathetic glances exchanged among our parents offered little comfort as they left, offering hugs and words of support. Bonnie spent the rest of the week away from home, leaving me to care for our 3 children, affectionate yet needy mouths that required constant attention. Meanwhile, Mark had arranged for a divorce lawyer to visit, which felt like yet another layer of entrapment. Unless Bonnie could be proven unfit as a mother, I faced nearly 18 years of child support, along with spousal support, housing costs, and other obligations. Then, on that fateful Friday evening just past 6 p.m., Bonnie sent a disrespectful text that cut deep. "I'm not sure if I'll be back tonight." Desperate, I pleaded with her not to leave, but my words fell on deaf ears. She drove away, and with her departure came the unspoken end of our marriage. Around 1 a.m., my phone rang, the unfamiliar number blinking at me. I let it go to voicemail, but my curiosity got the better of me. Mr. de Blas, this is Abby from University Hospital. Your wife, Bonnie, has been admitted. While she's not in immediate danger, she will need surgery tomorrow, the voice said. A sense of foreboding gripped me. Had someone harmed her? Had she been in a car accident? Sleep eluded me as I contemplated these possibilities, and the hungry cries of my children only added to my exhaustion. By dawn, I was utterly drained. When the doorbell rang at 8 a.m., I stumbled to the front door. A sleek sedan was parked behind my car, and a detective stood at my doorstep. "Is Parker Douglas here?" he asked, flashing his badge. "That's me. How can I help you?" I replied. "Detective John, are you aware that your wife is in the hospital?" he asked, his tone serious. "I am. Is that all you have for me?" "Not quite. Where were you around midnight last night?" "If you'd bothered to check, you'd already know," I shot back, gesturing to the ankle monitor strapped to my leg. "Oh, my apologies. I should have done some research. Do you know anyone who might want to harm your wife?" "No one comes to mind," I said, feeling a mix of irritation and indifference. "The hospital left a message about her being there, that's all I know." "Parker, your demeanor is quite perplexing. Care to elaborate?" "Bonnie decided to end our marriage last night and went out on a date. I somewhat hoped her companion would assault her severely." The detective's expression turned grave. "Nothing of that sort. At least not as far as I know. She was attacked leaving a motel room. There's no indication of sexual assault, but her face is badly bruised. The most severe damage is to her left hand. Each finger was broken with a hammer. They left a message on her face with a black marker: 'Choices have consequences.'" Surprisingly, despite the grim news, a small smile crept onto my face. I had no involvement in this incident, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of twisted justice. "I can't help you, John. If you'll excuse me, I hear children that need feeding." I considered contacting Bonnie's parents to share the news, but ultimately decided that it was Bonnie's conversation to have. The day dragged on in a whirlwind of chaos, feeding, bathing, changing diapers, and starting the cycle all over again. I barely found time to catch a few minutes of television, let alone tackle the programming projects piling up on my desk, indicating yet another late night ahead. Just past 4 p.m., my phone rang, and Bonnie's name appeared on the caller ID. I let it go to voicemail, but something compelled me to listen later. "Parker, I don't know if you're aware, but I was assaulted last night. They performed surgery on my left hand." Her voice trembled through the phone, and a mix of emotions washed over me as I braced for what was to come. Today, all my fingers and thumb are broken, and my entire hand is encased in a heavy cast. As I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness. "Could you arrange for someone to drop off a change of clothes for when I come home tomorrow?" I texted. "How are the kids? Please give me a call." I felt like I was trapped in a caretaker role, dealing with the aftermath of everything that had happened. I couldn't help but think, screw this. I wanted to scream, to tell Bonnie to put on her provocative outfit and go home. Later that evening, my doorbell rang, and I opened it to find my favorite detective, John de Blas, standing there, his expression serious. "Mr. de Blas," I greeted, trying to keep it casual. "I see you've come to visit." "I have a search warrant for your residence," he stated, his tone leaving no room for pleasantries. "No need to be so formal, John. Please, come in. Would you like something to drink?" He declined, and I remained silent as his team began seizing my computers and combing through my belongings. The tension in the room was palpable, and I could see John's assistants exchanging glances, their expressions suggesting they found nothing of interest. "John, what's happening?" I finally asked, breaking the silence. "There's been a related assault," he said gravely. "It appears to be a case of sexual retaliation. We've connected this individual to your wife. His genitals were mutilated, and the same message was scrawled on his face in black marker." "Mutilated?" I winced at the thought. That must have been excruciating. It sounds eerily similar to Bonnie's assault. I had no involvement in this whatsoever. "Well, it seems like karma has caught up with him," John replied. Best of luck with your investigation. He paused, glancing at my confiscated phone. Oh, and since you're taking my phone, could you please call my dad for me? John nodded and dialed Mark's number. Can you lend me a laptop and get me a cheap disposable phone? I requested. My parents soon arrived with dinner, and I filled them in on what I knew. My mom echoed my thoughts. Bonnie deserved this. She continued to send me messages, playing the victim in a random incident, showing no remorse for her decision to end our marriage. I chose not to engage with her voicemails or texts. On Sunday around noon, a car dropped Bonnie off at our house, and the kids squealed with delight at the sight of her. I made a conscious effort to stay out of her way for the rest of the day. Despite her struggles with the children, I ignored her pleas for help. If you're unable to handle something, retreat to the bedroom and I'll take care of it, I thought. Parker, please don't act this way. We're still married. I'll be in this cast for at least 10 weeks. I need your cooperation, she insisted. I brushed her off, retreating to my office and putting on my headphones to drown out the chaos. I managed to get some work done until I caught a whiff of dinner cooking. Just then, Bonnie tapped me on the shoulder, passing me a note. The kids need baths. I can't risk getting my cast wet. I'll be in the bedroom. When John returned my computers and phone, he informed me that my browser history and cell phone activity were of no use to them. It was satisfying to be able to say, I told you so. Bonnie, desperate for any semblance of control, inquired about the recovery of her rings. She had been wearing my wedding band along with her maternal grandmother's wedding band when she was attacked. John replied that no rings had been found or turned in. We existed in a tense stalemate. Bonnie would try to exert influence while I remained steadfast in my resolve. On Thursday, Bonnie emerged from the bedroom dressed in seductive attire while I was on the phone with Edith. I have plans for another date, she said nonchalantly, leaving me in shock. It was clear. I needed a divorce, and fast. I refused to endure the humiliation of being cuckolded, even if it meant missing my children. I felt like I had reached my breaking point. Edith agreed to take the kids to their doctor's appointment on Friday and expressed her dismay over Bonnie's actions. While she offered moral support, I was too overwhelmed to think rationally. Thankfully, the comforting presence of my children offered a glimmer of hope for the future. That night, I was in a deep sleep when my phone rang, jolting me awake. Seeing an unfamiliar number, I let it go to voicemail. Later, I heard the notification tone and listened to the message. Mr. DeBlas, this is Mary from University Hospital. Your wife Bonnie has been admitted. I'm reaching out as a courtesy. You can reach me at... What in the world was happening? Was this a repeat of our first encounter? I doubted she was with the same person. Injuries like hers didn't heal so quickly. Perhaps someone else had assaulted her. It was disturbing to realize that part of me felt a twisted sense of relief at her suffering, but my life was in utter chaos right now. After taking a sip of whiskey to calm my nerves, I drifted back into sleep, my concern for Bonnie fading. The next morning, I welcomed John as he approached the front door, coffee in hand. John, good to see you again. What's the latest? He handed me a copy of the search warrant. Same pattern. Assaulted, leaving the motel with broken fingers and another message on her face. Another victim with mutilated privates. You're elusive, but we're determined to apprehend you. Give it your best shot, John. I'm just as clueless as you are, I replied, my tone steady. The same message on the man? Yes, and Bonnie. There's a second message. Slow learner, are we? Are you mentioning broken fingers again? I asked. Right hand this time, he confirmed. She'll be incapacitated for quite some time. Unfortunate for her. Don't expect me to come to her aid, I said, feeling a sense of resolve. Before they confiscated my phones, I had called my dad to request borrowing his laptop once more, and I mentioned needing another disposable phone. Fortunately, all my work was stored in the cloud. I had the foresight to create backups of everything and entrusted my dad with thumb drives for safekeeping. Later that Friday, around 4:00 p.m., my phone rang again. This time, it wasn't Bonnie herself, but someone calling on her behalf. She sounded distressed, complaining about her situation. completely oblivious to the fact that I couldn't care less. Perhaps her parents will provide her with shelter, I thought bitterly. During dinner, Julie stopped by to help look after the kids. When my phone rang again, she noticed it was Bonnie and answered, activating the speakerphone. "Parker, you need to assist me." "Bonnie, this is Julie." Don't expect Parker or any of... I let the chaos unfold as I sat back, trying to focus on the children and block out the turmoil surrounding me. "Julie, I've told you to stop meddling in my personal affairs," I said, frustration creeping into my voice as she handed me the phone with Parker's name flashing on the screen. I declined the call, not wanting to engage. With a sigh, she ended the call, leaving me alone with my thoughts. On Sunday, Bonnie tried to reach me again, but her call went straight to voicemail. "Parker, if you come home, will you support me? Please call." I didn't return her call. I had no idea where she was, and quite frankly, I didn't care. A few days earlier, John had returned my electronics, cautioning me that they still suspected my involvement in Bonnie's situation. I couldn't shake the sense of unease that clung to me. Monday morning brought an unexpected visitor, Edith. "What brings you here?" I asked, surprised to see her at my door. "I'm here to help with the kids," she replied, her tone steady. "What about Bonnie? Isn't she staying with you?" I inquired, a knot tightening in my stomach. "No. She asked us to mind our own business, so we've stopped answering her calls. We haven't seen her since she told us to stay out of her life. I think she's with a friend, possibly someone from her wedding party," Edith explained, a hint of concern in her voice. "In that case, please come in," I said, stepping aside. "Would you like some coffee?" "Black, please," she replied as she entered. "Where are my babies?" Edith stayed out of my way, spending the entire day looking after the children. While they napped, she tackled the laundry and tidied up the house. Initially, I thought it was just a one-time visit, but she returned every day afterward. Some days, Roger accompanied her. I found myself catching up on work projects and even indulging in guilt-free naps. Despite the chaos surrounding us, I hadn't heard from Bonnie, and Edith confirmed she hadn't either. My attorney suggested it was the perfect moment to initiate divorce proceedings, considering Bonnie had effectively abandoned the kids. With Edith around, I could structure my days as if I were still married, transforming the previous chaos into a peaceful routine. However, this newfound calmness allowed my mind to dwell on my resentment toward Bonnie. My mother visited several times a week, and the kids had a much better relationship with their grandparents than Bonnie and I ever did. Whenever the children had a medical appointment, one of the grandparents usually took them, which lightened my load. Once the paperwork was ready, Bonnie was officially served. Her voicemails filled with explicit language and threats, though I chose not to delete them, thinking they might offer the court clearer insight into her behavior. Given my limited mobility, the lawyers conducted their meetings in my front yard, a deliberate move to add an extra layer of shame for Bonnie. They were determined to argue for Bonnie's custody rights and secure child support from me. I countered their claims, asserting that she needed to find employment to contribute. Considering her skills, it seemed unlikely she could do so without resorting to escort services. The initial court hearing didn't go well for Bonnie. My attorney portrayed me as the sole provider for our children over the past 8 weeks, while her legal team argued that due to her injuries, she was unable to use her hands. When they questioned why I wasn't assisting her, my attorney presented depositions from Bonnie's 2 lovers, both with injuries of their own. "I don't approve of Bonnie engaging in extramarital affairs," I stated firmly. Bonnie and her legal team huddled for a few minutes, and their final move was to present a piece of paper, a cautionary note directed at Bonnie. My lawyer contended it could have been fabricated merely for dramatic effect, and Bonnie's lawyers had no evidence regarding its origin. I had no part in creating it. Now we awaited further proceedings. The court had requested additional documentation from Bonnie regarding her abandonment of the children. My attorney believed this development boded well for our case. Once the left-hand cast was removed, Bonnie stepped into the house to find all her belongings crammed into the laundry room. Fury flashed across her face. My lawyer had advised me to let her back in, as refusing would create a negative impression. Despite my hopes that the kids would reject her, they did not. Holding Connie, Bonnie attempted a different approach. "Parker, What do I need to do to move past this? I still love you, and I believe you love me too. I'm sorry for hurting you. I was immature, but I've grown a lot in the past 3 months. Bonnie, you're mistaken. I no longer love you. The sooner I can remove you from my life, the better, I replied, feeling my frustration rise. I'm not leaving. I'm not. You'll still have to deal with me when you visit your children, she shot back, defiance etched on her features. I couldn't take it anymore. I headed to my office, anxious about our upcoming court date. Bonnie was asleep on the couch as we continued to avoid each other, almost like before when she had only one functional hand. I took care of the necessary matters while Bonnie remained confined to her room. When our case was called, Bonnie appeared visibly pleased to see her parents in the courtroom, despite not having seen them since the argument preceding her first court appearance. She waved at them, but they ignored her. Her demeanor shifted when my attorney summoned Edith to the stand. "Edith, may I address you as such?" my lawyer asked. "Yes," she replied. "Bonnie is your daughter?" "We disown her now," Edith stated flatly. "Why is that?" my lawyer pressed. "She's promiscuous and entirely unfit to raise my grandchildren. Parker is more than capable of caring for them while Bonnie was incapacitated. Engaging in promiscuous behavior while Parker was at home looking after the children she abandoned. I won't allow my precious angels to grow up thinking that promiscuity is an acceptable lifestyle choice." "Isn't it true that Parker is currently under house arrest?" Bonnie's attorney interjected. "Yes, but that's because he assaulted someone he believed was harming Bonnie," Edith replied. "It turns out she was engaging in promiscuous behavior that night too," my attorney added. "No further questions, Your Honor." The courtroom buzzed with tension, and I could feel the weight of the moment. It was a battle of wills, and I was determined to fight for my children's future, no matter the cost. High fives and celebratory cheers erupted in the courtroom as the judge granted me custody of my children. Bonnie was ordered to provide child support, but alimony wasn't necessary since I was already handling all the housing expenses. When my lawyer presented the recorded threatening voicemails from Bonnie, the judge ruled that her visitation rights for the first 3 months would be supervised. I had expected to feel elated, a sense of liberation washing over me, but instead, I found myself caught in a mix of melancholy and relief. Life at home remained largely unchanged. Edith visited every day, and she, along with Julie, took charge of my romantic life. I had made it clear that finding a new partner wasn't a priority for me, at least not until one Saturday morning when Carmen unexpectedly showed up at my doorstep. Edith had invited Carmen over to help with the kids. She had a son just a week older than Adam, and tragically her husband had died in a car accident when she was 5 months pregnant. At 2 years older than me, she worked in customer support for an insurance agency. It was evident to everyone that this was a setup, but I didn't object. Perhaps I was curious about what might unfold. While the kids napped, Carmen and I settled at the kitchen table, sharing stories. I recounted my experience with house arrest, while she spoke fondly of her late husband. Just as I was about to share my troubles with Bonnie, there was a knock on the door. "Bonnie, good to see you," I called out, glancing at the woman beside her. "I assume the lady with you is overseeing today's visit?" "Yes, this is Margot Hansen," Bonnie introduced, and I greeted Margot with a handshake before checking her credentials. Edith waved goodbye as she slipped out the back door. "Welcome inside," I said, inviting Margot and Bonnie in. "Bonnie, this is Carmen, a dear friend of mine. Her son Chad is napping with Adam." Bonnie's stare at Carmen was icy enough to cause a chill, but Carmen held her composure, greeting Bonnie with a warm smile. "Nice to meet you, Bonnie." As Bonnie roused the children from their sleep, I walked Carmen to the door. "Would you like me to bring dinner tonight? After all, we're close friends." Without hesitation, I leaned in for a kiss, which she returned. "I'd love that. See you tonight." I caught Bonnie watching closely as Carmen waved goodbye from her car. Hours later, as Bonnie and Margot wrapped up their visit, I felt a thrill at the thought of having dinner with a woman for the first time in 6 months. After putting the kids down for their nap, I took a quick shower, shaved, and splashed on some aftershave. I chose a nice shirt and a clean pair of jeans, feeling hopeful. Just as I was getting ready, the doorbell rang. Carmen had changed into a more casual outfit, and together, we prepared dinner while the boys played. The casserole she brought was enough to feed us for days. We chatted until nearly midnight, and I appreciated that she was more than just a listener. She encouraged me to explore my thoughts and emotions surrounding Bonnie's mistreatment of me. Convincing her of my innocence regarding the assaults was no easy feat. I wasn't sure if she truly believed me, but I was telling the truth. As midnight approached, Carmen hugged drowsy Chad goodbye. I asked if we could meet again, and to my delight, she agreed. Our goodnight kiss was filled with more passion than the earlier peck, stirring feelings I thought I had buried deep. I hadn't expected to crave female companionship, yet I found myself tossing and turning all night, reconsidering my stance. When Edith arrived early the next Sunday, she was eager to hear about my time with Bonnie, but quickly shifted the conversation to Carmen. "I want you to know I'm not trying to control your life," she said, a slight smile playing on her lips. "Well, maybe just a little. I spoke with Carmen's mom last night. They live on the East Coast, and she mentioned that Carmen's car broke down. She can't afford the repairs with her rent and childcare expenses. She barely has a few $100s left each month. Do you think we could help her with Chad and save her some childcare costs? I think it would be a nice gesture," I suggested. "I believe so, but I'd need your help. How much does she need for the repairs?" I felt compelled to support Carmen, especially given the casseroles she brought over every week. "I think I owe her for all that she's done." "Thanks, Parker. I'll find out how much the repairs will cost," she replied. The next morning, Carmen showed up at my doorstep, a sparkle in her eyes. I noticed a woman sitting in the driver's seat waving at me. "Thank you, Parker. This means a lot," she said, gratitude radiating from her. "No problem, Carmen. See you later today." Fixing Carmen's car ended up costing about $300, but I considered it a worthwhile investment, not just for the repair, but for the chance to see her every day. Our greetings and goodbyes began to resemble those of lovers, filled with warmth and tenderness. With my house arrest finally over, I seized the opportunity to go for a 10-mile jog around the neighborhood. While on my run, I casually mentioned an idea to Carmen. "Could you arrange to have Friday off? I'm thinking of planning a full-day date for us. Edith can watch the kids. I'd suggest this weekend, but both Edith and Julie have prior commitments." "That sounds wonderful. I'll give you a call later today from the office," she replied, her excitement infectious. A few hours later, our date was set, and my heart raced with anticipation. Friday arrived, and everything went smoothly as I picked up Carmen and Chad, feeling like I was stepping into a new chapter filled with hope and possibility. This story unfolds with Parker, whose life took a sharp turn after a complicated breakup with his ex-wife, Bonnie. Early one afternoon, after dropping off his son Chad with Edith, who was babysitting, Parker and his girlfriend, Carmen, headed to the marina for a much-needed getaway. The 3-hour guided tour allowed them to reconnect amidst the chaos of their lives, but the real excitement awaited them later at the amusement park. After spending 5 hours hopping from ride to ride, Parker felt exhilarated. It was a welcome distraction from their everyday challenges. As they were about to leave, Carmen turned to him with a playful yet serious look. "Parker, I'm tired of waiting for you to take the lead. Can I stay over tonight?" He smiled, thinking it over for a moment. "How about the whole weekend?" Her delighted kiss confirmed his suggestion was a good one. Once the kids were asleep, Parker found himself contemplating his next move. He wanted to strike the right balance, neither too eager nor indifferent. He prepared drinks and casually suggested, "Shall we watch some TV in the bedroom?" He sensed Carmen was wrestling with her own thoughts, and the air between them crackled with tension. They barely laughed before the atmosphere shifted, and they were swept up in a passionate kiss. It felt instinctual, their chemistry undeniable. As their hands roamed, clothes were shed in a flurry of desire. The soft glow from the television illuminated their toned bodies, but Parker felt self-conscious about his lean frame. "I'm still on birth control," he reminded her, the weight of the moment pressing down. Are you sure you're clean? Carmen asked, her tone serious. I got tested when everything started and all my results were negative, he replied confidently. You'll have to trust that I'm clean too. Ready to take it all the way? She asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Oh, I'm more than ready. After tending to the chickens that morning, Saturday turned out to be the best day Parker had experienced in over a year. With the kids napping, they made love, savoring their intimacy. When lunchtime came, the shortage of car seats led them to order delivery from a local Italian restaurant. As they sat down to eat with the children, Carmen's phone rang. It was her mother. She stepped into the living room to take the call, but when she returned, her face was pale. I need to go to my mom, she said, her voice trembling. My father had a heart attack and is on life support. Can you gather Chad's things? I'll arrange travel. Parker's heart sank. He expressed his condolences, assuring her of his unwavering support as tears streamed down his face. He realized he was crying not only for her pain, but also for the impending loss of her presence. Carmen made it to the airport in less than 90 minutes, leaving Parker grappling with the uncertainty of where they stood. Their relationship had been casual, a friends with benefits arrangement, but Parker couldn't shake the feeling that his feelings for Carmen ran deeper. Did she feel the same way? Or was he simply hoping for more? They needed to have a conversation, but Carmen's focus was on her family. Later that day, she called him with an update. Her flight was on schedule, and she was doing her best to comfort her mother while her father fought for his life. As the days passed, Carmen's father survived, albeit in a severely diminished state due to brain damage from oxygen deprivation. Communication between Parker and Carmen dwindled. They left each other messages, but responses were scarce. The silence felt heavy, and Parker began to accept that he might have his answer about their relationship. Meanwhile, Edith and Julie noticed his sadness and jumped back into matchmaking mode. Free from previous constraints, he agreed to a few conventional dates, but quickly realized that mentioning his 4 young children up front was a necessity. As he expected, opportunities for meaningful connections were scarce. Closure came in the form of a 2-page letter from Carmen. Her father had passed away, and she decided to stay on the East Coast to be with her family. She cherished the time they had spent together and wished him luck in finding someone new. The news stung more than he wanted to admit. In the wake of that heartbreak, Parker traded in his sedan for an SUV to accommodate 4 car seats and another adult. Grocery store cashiers began to look out for him, ensuring he didn't buy anything unsuitable for his quartet. Despite the pain, he remained hopeful that love would come his way again. To believe otherwise felt too disheartening. A year after Carmen's departure, Edith found him alone. Parker, I got word from Carmen's mom, she said, gauging his reaction. How do you feel about it? I've always liked Carmen's mom, he replied with a chuckle. What's her name again? Parker, you know who I mean. If you're asking if I'd welcome her back, it's without hesitation. 3 days later, Parker's heart skipped a beat when he found Carmen waiting for him at home after work. Adam and I are fine sharing a room, she said, her eyes shining with relief. And just like that, they began to navigate their new reality together, blending their lives into one chaotic yet beautiful family. With the help of their parents, they successfully raised 5 wonderful children. They tried to manage on their incomes, but the grandparents often spoiled the kids with purchases that exceeded their budget. Bonnie remarried about a year after their divorce was finalized. Though she still visited, she fell significantly behind on her child support payments, becoming more of a sporadic visitor than a mother figure. To the kids, Edith was more of a maternal figure than Bonnie ever was. Carmen and Parker opted for a simple courthouse wedding, both feeling that 5 children were plenty and no more were needed. No charges were ever brought against anyone involved in the altercations surrounding Bonnie and her partners, leaving unresolved tensions in their wake. But Parker continued to regard Edith and her husband Roger as the loving grandparents they were, grateful for their support. 3.5 years after Bonnie's departure, Parker found himself alone in the kitchen with Edith during Christmas. Curious, he asked about the 2 rings she wore. With a playful twinkle in her eye, she spun the one on her ring finger and then gestured to the other on her pinky. This one is my wedding band, and this one belonged to my mother, she said, her voice filled with warmth. Taken aback by her revelation, he watched as she placed her index finger to her lips, whispering, "Shh, that's the end of the story." In that moment, Parker realized that life, with all its complexities and surprises, had a way of unfolding in unexpected ways. And as he looked at Edith, he felt a profound appreciation for the love and resilience that bound their family together. The character's emotional journey was nothing short of compelling. As I followed Parker through his trials and tribulations, I found myself captivated by the depth of his experiences. Each disappointment he faced felt like a punch to the gut. Yet within those moments of despair there flickered a glimmer of hope that kept him pushing forward. Parker's life unfolded like a roller coaster, filled with unpredictable twists and turns that tested his resilience. Every setback brought new challenges, but also opportunities for growth. It was fascinating to witness how he navigated through the storm of his circumstances, reflecting on his choices and the consequences they carried. What resonated with me most was the way Parker's story mirrored the struggles we all face in life. His journey prompted deep reflections on our own capacity to endure, adapt, and ultimately overcome. In the face of adversity, it became clear that perseverance and hope are powerful allies. Parker's story reminds us that while life may throw us curveballs, it's our response that defines us.